Thanks, Mike. And it's great to be here. I am going to cover an update on the laboratory and my perspective on the future. I'm also going to talk about the strong partnership we have with the Pacific Northwest Site Office. And just so you know the difference between the two entities, I think you're all aware that Battelle has been the operator of the laboratory, PNNL, since 1965. We've held that privilege, and we're honored to be in that role. And then the Pacific Northwest Site Office is the federal entity that provides the day-to-day federal oversight for our operation. But everything that we do at the laboratory, everything that we accomplish is accomplished through a strong partnership between Battelle as the operator and Pacific Northwest Site Office. And so Roger Snyder, who is the head of PNSO, he and I alternate this presentation every other year. So last year Roger did it. This year I'm going to do it. Next year Roger will do it. And I think Julie Erickson, who's his deputy, is here, and Larry Moore, who's his communications director, is here as well. But again, I can't emphasize the importance of that partnership in terms of advancing the laboratory. So in terms of a few facts of who we are, just to refresh everybody's memory about the laboratory, PNNL is a multi-program laboratory, meaning that we serve all of the department's missions. And certainly the department depends on its national laboratories to execute its missions in energy, environment, national security, and fundamental science. You can see what our portfolio looks like. We're just under $1 billion of annual revenue. That's distinct from Hanford, although we do support many of the challenges at Hanford. I'll say a little bit more about that. But we probably have the most diverse portfolio of any of the national laboratories in the 17 national laboratory complex. We have about 4,300 staff. And in addition to those staff, every year we host something in excess of 1,000 interns, fellows, and postdocs that take advantage of the unique facilities that we have at PNNL. And I think with 4,300 staff, we are the largest single employer here in the Tri-Cities. And I think in Eastern Washington, we might be the second largest, only behind Fairchild Air Force Base up in Spokane. And certainly this laboratory has not only regional and local impact, but significant national impact. And I'll talk about that. The laboratory is focused on really a number of enduring challenges. These are challenges that aren't going to go away overnight. They're not going to change dramatically. You think about the challenges of preventing the proliferation of nuclear material, the challenges of countering terrorism, and certainly the national energy agenda. We're not going to solve those problems overnight. So certainly the laboratory is positioned well for the future. Our mission is to transform the world through courageous discovery and innovation. And we are striving day in and day out to enable the world to live more prosperously, more securely, and more safely. I think past performance is a pretty good indicator of the future, and I just want to spend a minute talking about the performance that the lab has achieved over the last year. In the year just completed, in fiscal 2013, once again, the laboratory earned among the highest marks from the Office of Science, both for its science and technology and for its management and operations, for our ability to steward the laboratory. So this marks 6 straight years that this laboratory has been at the top or tied for the top in terms of the scores that we get from the Office of Science, who puts us through a pretty darn rigorous process of evaluating our performance in all dimensions on an annual basis. So I'm really, really proud of our staff. We have exceptional staff. I'm proud of the fact that we really understand the needs of our stakeholders and our clients. And I'm really proud of our ability to deliver trusted performance that really advances science and delivers innovative solutions to some of the country's most significant challenges. So I got to tell you, I'm very optimistic about our future, and I'm going to give you a few examples of why that's the case. And as we go into this fiscal year 2014, we're going to continue to increase our national impact and certainly our research capabilities. I'll give you a few examples of that. We're going to continue to invest strategically. And I think a challenge we all face, those of us that touch the federal budget in these uncertain federal budget times, is we cannot lose our courage to invest in those things that are absolutely critical to our future. They're strategic in nature and critical to advancing the laboratory going forward. And I'll guarantee you we're not going to do that at PNNL. And then we're going to continue to deliver efficient and integrated management and operations. We are, as I said, delivering high-impact science and solutions to some of the country's most significant challenges. And I'm going to give you a couple examples at this point. You're all aware of what's happening in energy space, and as the world demand for energy rapidly expands, transforming the way that we generate, the way we supply, the way we transmit, store, and use energy is going to be one of the defining challenges of America in the 21st century, and really for the entire world. So we recently submitted 3 proposals as a lead institution for a series of energy frontier research centers that the Office of Science created about 5 years ago. They initially created 48 of these. We are leading one at the moment. These are all coming up for recompetition. The number will be reduced from 48 to something in the 30s. But we are now in a position where we've submitted proposals to lead 3 of these. And typically, these involve not just the national laboratories, but industry and academia as well as industry partners. And it's really to accelerate research in those areas of energy that are critical to our future. In addition to leading 3, we're also partnering on 20 others. So again, there's about 30 of these that are being competed right now, and the laboratory is being asked to partner with other laboratories, with other universities, with other industry partners on 20 additional. And that's a sign of the fact that the work we're doing here is being recognized, it's appreciated, it's valued, and others are seeking us out as partners as they seek to be leaders in these new energy frontier research centers. I think many of you are aware that we are home to the Environmental Molecular Sciences Laboratory. That's our national scientific user facility. It's a gem of a resource at the laboratory. And one of our goals is to expand the external user base beyond the scientists at PNNL who take great advantage of it. We also have a large external population, and we intend to grow that by at least 10% in the coming year. Now, I'll give you an example of some work going on in IMSL. About a year ago, we completed the construction of a quiet wing, an environmentally quiet space that houses some of our ultra-sensitive microscopy capability. And we just published some work we had done there where one of our scientists is able to take advantage of the ultra-sensitive microscopy and the fact that it's in this quiet wing, environmentally quiet space, being free of environmental noise, vibration, acoustic, and so on, to understand how battery electrodes behave in their wet solution, in the electrolyte solution. Something that hasn't been done before, provides us a unique capability, and it's being highlighted in C&E News. We're also, as a laboratory, continuing to drive building and grid integration at both the national level and at the regional level. This past year, the state legislature here in Washington appropriated $6 million of Clean Energy Fund for work between PNNL, the University of Washington, and Washington State University. And together, this team of the laboratory and the 2 universities has proposed an integrated smart city, a smart campus, and a smart substation test bed, all of which would span facilities here in Richland, Seattle, and in Pullman. On the national security side, we're one of the leading labs providing science and technology that helps detect attempts to proliferate nuclear materials and nuclear weapons. We are truly a recognized leader in this area. This work is sponsored by the National Nuclear Security Administration. They have their own set of laboratories that they're stewards to, but they come to PNNL for our unique capabilities and our demonstrated ability to deliver on their requirements. And another thing we've done over in our national security business is that we operate a marine sciences laboratory over on the Olympic Peninsula in Sequim, Washington. And we just completed a small vessel standoff detection testing project for the Department of Homeland Security. This is an on-water testing system to detect any attempt to bring nuclear materials, nuclear radiological materials into the U.S. over our waters. And then locally, we're partnering with Kevin Smith and his team as he addresses many of the challenges associated with the waste treatment plant. And we're working to have the laboratories in a strategic partnership role with Kevin so that we can bring the expertise of the laboratory personnel to bear on many of the challenges that Kevin and his team are addressing. I also want to give you another couple of local examples of our work here that's having an impact. So our staff successfully tagged and released over 11,000 salmon this past year. This is in support of a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer program that studies the survival rate of 2 dams on the Snake River. So the laboratory has developed a juvenile salmon acoustic telemetry system. And it's a system of acoustic transmitters and receivers, and we remotely track fish in 1, 2, and 3 dimensions as they pass through the dams. And certainly understanding the survival rate, what we can do to increase the survival rate of salmon as they pass over the dams is really important to this area. And the results of our study showed that the survival rate is between 91 and 93%. So this year we're going to again use this system in the Columbia River Basin, and this time to evaluate structural and operational improvements designed by the Corps of Engineers to improve Chinook salmon and steelhead survival at both McNary and John Day dams on the Columbia River. So at this point, I've talked about some of our scientific contributions. I'd like to talk about how we operate the laboratory with distinction and how this laboratory makes a significant contribution to the community. You know, we believe, Battelle believes in the concept of simultaneous excellence. Now, as a national laboratory, you expect us to be excellent in our science and technology, but we've learned that's not enough. We also have to be excellent in our management and operations, and we have to be an excellent community steward. And that's not only part of Gordon Battelle's will that established Battelle, but it's also part of our culture. So we're certainly recognized within the DOE complex as an innovator in terms of safety. Safety is ultra important in our environment. And we've developed a predictive analytics system that allows us to analyze our operations and understand where our highest risk is, and typically this can point us to where we might have the next major safety issue, and we can then focus our attention on improving the operational environment to avoid a safety issue in that particular area. And this is a set of analytics that's being exported across the complex. And we're also noted for our strength in managing our cost of operations, maintaining our competitiveness, and assuring that we have the funds to invest in the laboratory for those things that are strategic for the laboratory going forward. And certainly in the community, I'm always proud of our staff. You're all aware that last year the Tri-Cities Food Bank, somebody broke in, stole their laptop computer. I read about it in the paper, and I thought, geez, thinking about John Neal, there's certainly, we've got lots of surplus PCs. There's got to be some way we can help. Actually, before I could get to John, I ran into him at Tridec at a meeting one evening, and he was thanking me before I could even say something to our staff. So our staff took the initiative on their own to go out. They found some older PCs that we had, gave them to John, and he was back up and running. And, you know, it didn't even require anybody to urge it from the top. It's just the way our staff are. I'm really proud of that. And when you think of our Team Battelle activities, you know, we've donated last year over 22,000, almost 23,000 hours to 61 different projects. And I know that anytime there's a worthy cause in this community, our staff step up. And it's not because I'm forcing them and making them. I mean, they are there and they're committed to this community. And likewise, I want to note the staff at PNSO. This is a small group. It's only about around 30 people, but they're very active in terms of contributing to their time and their talent and their resources to the United Way, to Junior Achievement, to the combined federal campaign where nearly $10,000 was donated to national and international charities. They're a primary sponsor of the DOE Regional Science Bowl, which is coming up, and Feds Feed Families. They came up with 1 ton of food that was donated in 2013. I think this is a remarkable achievement for a very small group of individuals. And when I think about Battelle in the community, since 1965, when we came to town, we've invested more than $24.5 million in worthy causes in the community, and that's all in addition to probably in excess of $125 million that's been invested in land and buildings to help create the laboratory that exists today. We've been highly committed to refreshing leadership in education. We've been a primary force behind the Delta High School. I had the opportunity to co-lead the search for the new chancellor at WSU Tri-Cities. All very worthy causes here in the community. And we continue to be very vested in STEM education, not only because we depend on a pipeline of scientists and engineers for our laboratory, but also we believe that to address the challenges of the 21st century, our students have to be better versed in the STEM disciplines. So I want to mention something here. You're among the first to hear this, and we're going to issue a formal public announcement in the coming weeks, but we're also partnering with the Yakima Valley Tri-Cities MESA, and MESA is Mathematics, Engineering, and Science Achievement, the Southeast Washington Laser Alliance, and the Delta High School Partnership to form what's called the Mid-Columbia STEM Ed Collaboratory. And this is a collaboratory that will bring together leaders and programs that are focused on STEM education to share lessons learned and to maintain a very, very tight coupling with businesses so that the education system can produce graduates that have skills that align with the needs of our businesses. And so stay tuned on that, and we'll continue to get more information out of that. But we're a STEM-rich community, and we've got to keep our eye on the kinds of graduates that come out of our schools here. You know, we are grateful for our partnership, as I said, with PNSO and operating the laboratory. You're all well aware of BESSEL, the Bioproduct Science and Engineering Laboratory that's on the WSU Tri-Cities campus. This is truly a unique environment in the National Laboratory Complex. 50 of our scientists and engineers work there every day. We put $10 million worth of DOE equipment, and we couldn't have done that without the strong support of and partnership with PNSO. I mentioned that we're partnering with the two universities, UW and WSU, and the Clean Energy Fund. And we also just established a new Northwest Institute for Advanced Computing with the University of Washington, which is a BESSEL-like facility that's located on the University of Washington campus in Seattle. Tech transfer is an important part. You noticed, you know, one patent a week that comes out of the laboratory. It's an important part of our business, something Battelle's been committed to. You probably heard recently the Secretary Moniz has said, you know, I believe the national labs are underachieving when it comes to tech transfer. And I would agree with that. And so I'm part of a team of national lab directors that are trying to come up with some new concepts for really changing the game relative to laboratories' ability to get technology out of the lab into the private sector. How are we doing on time here? 2 minutes? Okay, I have a number of examples here. I'll probably skip a couple just in the interest of time. But relative to impact here in the community, I want to talk about a couple of things I think you'll find interesting. You know, our commercialization office at PNNL instigated the first ever Tri-City Startup Weekend at the end of September, and this included 50 participants. So this is an international nonprofit movement that really has franchised hundreds of startup weekends worldwide, but never here in Southeast Washington. So we had 22 business concepts were floated at the opening night, and the teams were formed for about 8 of those to develop business plans. And several businesses actually were spawned out of this startup weekend. And I'm going to mention at least one of these. One is called Emergency Tag Alert. It's a company that's developing an inexpensive visual and audio beacon to show the location of fire extinguishers and exits in a building in the case of fire. So we're working with them currently to help refine the technology. I also mentioned Sun Spirits. It's developing a highly sustainable solar-powered distillery that uses grape byproducts as its feedstock. So we've arranged to be a mentor for this company in the formal mentor protege program for entrepreneurs. And I'm going to skip a couple here. I'm going to get down because we're out of time. I want to talk about local Red Lobster here on Columbia Center Boulevard. They came to us and they asked our advice about saving energy by switching to solid-state LED lighting in its walk-in freezer. And so once the advantages of the lights were proven in the local restaurant, the lighting was then specified in restaurant designs across the entire Red Lobster system. In fact, the local Red Lobster then switched to LEDs for lighting throughout the restaurant, resulting in even greater energy and cost savings. So why am I telling you about these? These aren't really sexy items. They're not all that high tech. But I'm telling you so that you all appreciate we're your national laboratory. We're here for you. If you have a need, you have a technology you have questions about, you want to advance a technology, we're here for you. Call us. We have a technology assistance program to help you. And so we're as committed about making regional and local impact as we are about national impact. So let me conclude by saying that, you know, in spite of the federal budget disruptions, I continue to be optimistic about the laboratory. The omnibus bill that was just passed, like all bills, it's got some winners and losers, but overall, I feel like the laboratory is well positioned. And we made some adjustments to our employment the last couple of years. I don't see any downside actions coming here in the near future. And we're going to continue to invest, as I said, strategically in those things that are important to move the laboratory forward. I think it's important that we do that to maintain the viability. And finally, we're going to build a new building. In fact, we had a press release today. We're building a new systems engineering laboratory. It's an energy research laboratory that will house a broad array of research capabilities that we need as we advance our energy agenda. It'll be up in the corner at Horn Rapids and Stevens Boulevard. This is a DOE-funded building, about 22,000 square feet, mix of laboratory and office space. And it's really necessary as we continue to expand our energy agenda. So again, all this requires a strong partnership with PNSO. I'm going to stop here in the interest of time, but keep in mind, I am very bullish about where this laboratory is headed. We're going to continue to make impact nationally, and we're here also to help you locally and regionally. Thank you.